So, good morning, everybody, or good evening, wherever you are. And I'm here. My name is Rio Helmi, and I am starting this new podcast called The View from Here. And it is with great pleasure that my very first interviewee is Andreas Harsono. Andreas Harsono should be no stranger to those who follow human rights developments in Indonesia. Andreas is an author. He's a human rights observer. He works for Human Rights Watch International. He's a journalist. He's a champion of religious freedom and belief. And he's done research for human rights in various parts of Indonesia. He's the author of the book Race, Islam, and Power, Ethnic and Religious Violence in Post-Suharto Indonesia. And he helped set up the various things like the Dokar Coachman Union in Salatiga. It's pretty interesting, that one, actually. The Dokar. Yeah. And the AJI, or the Alliance of Independent Journalists, Jakarta, which was a very big thing at the time. It made a huge difference to all of us who were working in the field. And various other things in different parts of Indonesia. He was a Nieman Fellow on journalism at Harvard. He's a member of the International Consortium for Investigative Journalists. Andres, if I read your whole bio, we would just take up the whole 2 hours. So, and I'm super pleased that we could do this because there are a number of topics which have become regarding human rights, which have become they're very prominent at the moment. And one of the things that is I'd like to devote a good amount of time to is what I call the Jilbab Wars. Just the enforcement of women having to wear the head covering, the jilbab, the Muslim jilbab, especially, or hijab, especially in areas where there are Islam majorities. So I know you've done a lot of work in this, and actually, to start off with, I'm not very clear about the legality of local regulations regarding the hijab, which in many cases, of course, are very oppressive and often lead to bullying. Are these actually perda, or how are they legally positioned?
They are mostly local bylaws,
Hmm.
but also some national regulation.
Hmm.
The local hijab regulation began in 2001, West
Okay.
Sumatra,
West
and
Sumatra
some
first.
West Sumatra first.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, 2002, Aceh, and spreading according to the National Commission on Violence Against Women, Komnas Perempuan. As of 2023, there were 73 hijab regulation nationwide.
Whoa.
They are effective, implemented in 24 Muslim majority provinces out of 38 provinces in Indonesia. Those that are not enforced are mostly in eastern Indonesia. No? Christian, predominantly Christian or Christian Muslim 50-50 provinces, like those 6 provinces in West Papua, the Molucas Island, East Nusa Tenggara, those are not implemented.
Yeah.
The abuses take place in 4 sectors.
Hmm.
The first and the biggest one is state school.
Yeah.
Indonesia has 150,000 state school, and they are
Hmm.
enforced fully.
Hmm.
If you some school, if you are shown with a hijab but some hairs seen, the teachers will cut the hair. No?
Wow.
Or else, if you don't wear a school cap, a chiput, a chiput below the hijab, you also will be reprimanded. And there are merit system, demerit. If you, let's say, break the rule once, you will lose 10 points. Up, let's say, to 100 points, you will be expelled from school. So that is state school. from Aceh, West Sumatra, the whole Sumatra, but not Sumatra. North Sumatra is more relaxed again because
Okay.
Christian is quite a big
Just one
percentage.
second. I just want to clarify. This applies to non-Muslim students as well.
In some provinces, including uh, Yogyakarta, it is also applied on Christian, Hindus,
Oh,
Buddhists,
oh
and many
wow.
other non-Muslim students. Sunda Wiwitan in West Java,
Hmm.
Kejawen student in Central Java, they are also forced to wear the hijab.
In
So that,
state
that is
schools.
one sector. The second largest sector is civil servant. And again, female civil servant, the largest percentage is teachers. So
Hmm.
they are forced upon teachers to wear the hijab. If they don't wear the hijab, promotion delayed, sometimes pressure to
Oh,
resign.
okay.
Yeah, doctors, we have cases of doctors, lecturers, university professor, they are also forced to wear the hijab.
In state universities or in all universities?
In state
Yeah.
university. Uh, and the third and the fourth are visitors into state building, whether you want to get ID card in a
Oh,
village
really?
office, or you want to take report card from your for your daughters at school or your son at school, you have to wear the hijab. Thus, there is a booming of hijab businesses
I
to
bet.
sell or to rent near state building. Last but not least, public spaces. And this is the least, but it is very oppressive. The most oppressive is in public spaces. You cannot get out of your house without a hijab because there are
Where?
Aceh is one,
Okay, Aceh, yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Tasikmalaya is another, Probolinggo.
And what happens if, say, non-residents or foreigners, are they also obliged to wear this hijab?
They are pressure to wear the hijab. They
Okay.
are pressure. Either mostly politely,
Hmm.
but still pressure. That's why I got phone calls or meetings with female ambassador, foreign diplomats in
Hmm.
Jakarta. They ask my advice, do I have to wear a hijab when I go, let's say, to Aceh or South
Hmm.
Sulawesi or wherever in these Muslim majority provinces? So there are four sectors
Hmm.
since 2001.
I well, I have another question, but just quickly, I remember reading a few years ago about a woman who was going to the school, a non-Muslim woman, by the way, going to the school to pick up I think it was her daughter from school, and she was not wearing a hijab, and the satpam refused to let her pick up her child.
Yeah, it happened.
Yeah.
It happened frequently. In fact, after uh, I published the report in 2022, I think. Yeah, March or April 2022. After Human Rights Watch published a report about abusive mandatory hijab regulation, some psychologists and sociologists set up a hotline service.
Okay, so it was a joint thing. I thought it was your hotline. It was
No, no,
together with.
no. I was involved. I am
Yeah,
involved,
yeah, yeah.
but it was initiated by a psychologist.
Hmm.
She had more than 30 clients. Some of them tried to commit suicide. Thus, the hotline service began to listen, if possible, to help women who are forced to wear the hijab, whether they want to move their daughters to another school, whether they want to move house, whether they want to move to another city, whether they are having boycott, and many others. So it's been going on until now. I think we already heard this hotline service already heard more than 2,200, 2,400 women so far, and girls, and some fathers.
What about I mean actual violence towards women who don't comply to the hijab? Is that a thing, or is that often happening, or is that just a rare occasion?
Violence?
Yes.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. We had cases of women sexually assaulted,
Oh,
stopped on
wow.
the street. Bullying is our daily bread, our bread and butter. Bullying, you know. But there are cases where we have to move a girl. I think she was 18 or 17 years old. She was raped, and of course she did not want to go to school. We helped her psychologically, financially, until she became emotionally stable, and she told us that she would like to finish high school. We helped her. After high school, she wanted to move to another province, very far away. And in the new province, after a gap a gap of 4 years, she enrolled into a university. You know.
Okay.
Now she is finishing her law
Where?
degree.
Where?
The case happened in Aceh.
Okay.
The violence happened in Aceh.
Okay. What is kind of curious to me is that it started in West Sumatra, where, I mean, supposedly it's a matriarchal area, you know. It's supposedly women are somehow are more empowered in West Sumatra. It surprises me, and also because and Aceh, I remember talking to I think it was Felia Salim who had gone to Aceh. It would have been a year after that, after it was implemented, and I met her shortly after that, and she was telling me that the crazy thing is that the women in Aceh were totally against it. They said, look, if we want to wear it, we'll wear it. You know, it's a if we feel that, you know, it's a matter of pride for us to wear it, we wear it. But we don't want somebody to tell us
Yeah.
to wear it.
In fact, the first lawsuit against this mandatory hijab regulation came from Aceh.
Oh, okay.
16 organizations,
Hmm.
including women organization, filed.
So it was a civil
uh,
suit. It was not a personal. It was a
16 organizations.
yeah. Okay.
But then the leaders of this organization were bullied until some of these women have to run away
Oh
from
wow.
Aceh. That was the first lawsuit. They failed. The Supreme Court disagreed. The
Huh.
second lawsuit came from West Sumatra in 2022 from a man in
Okay.
West Sumatra challenging uh, then a new government regulation that basically gave students, state school students, the freedom to choose. The regulation was issued by three ministers, including Nadiem Makarim, the
Okay.
education minister, and it was challenged at the Supreme Court. And two of the three judges came from West Sumatra, Supreme Court judges. Again, the Supreme Court agreed, and that new government regulation was revoked. So there are already two legal
With the
challenges.
government regulation allowing or the government regulation obliging people to wear hijab?
Uh, Giving the freedom to choose.
So that was taken away.
The the mandatory hijab regulation was supposedly to be removed
Yeah.
by the 2022 regulation.
And the Supreme Court upheld that. The
The Supreme Court
upheld.
cancel the 2022 regulation.
Oh, wow.
The 2022 regulation was to amend the
Right.
2014 regulation
Mm,
that
right.
make it mandatory for the student to wear the hijab.
That's amazing.
National regulation, Minister of Education, then Muhammad Nuh.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
So, regarding the public awareness of your of the help hotline that you have set up, I imagine you get all kinds of cases from violence to civil, you know, transgressions, etc. But how many calls do you get now a day on average?
I'm not directly involved now because it is very time consuming and
Yeah.
emotionally draining.
Uh-huh.
But when I was involved, at least a week I got two, three, four cases. Sometime got a phone call at 5 in the morning. Pak
Hmm.
Andreas, tolong,
Hmm.
I'm s- I'm forced to leave my house now,
Hmm.
his parent house that he inherited.
Hmm.
Or once I got a text message at 2 a.m.
Hmm.
Very, very emotional to hear all those complaints.
But you're only one respondent for that hotline. I met
Oh,
there
no,
are
no. At the time we were, I think in the beginning we were four.
Okay.
Now we have more than 30, you know.
30.
Yeah.
And they average, would they, do you think they average around what, 4 or 5 calls a day? Or I'm
I
just trying
don't
to get a
know.
grip on how popular, I mean, how,
Well, one case is not a single call. One
okay,
case can
go on.
extend for
Okay.
3 months, 4 months until we
Okay.
help them to move school.
Right.
Uh, if we add with the prolonged cases, with
Hmm.
the ongoing cases, every day we have to deal with them.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, and when, when violence towards these women happens, I mean, we're not only in the end we'll branch out a bit. It's not only just about women, really. It's about gays. It's about transgenders, et cetera, et cetera. But when this violence occurs to women, for example, in schools or in their homes, what does it come under? Domestic violence? I mean, what's the law what's their avenue? What's their legal avenue to take something to court? For example, if they're beaten or
Well, mostly the the violence against this woman are quote unquote minor violence.
I
Uh,
see.
Cutting hair.
Hmm.
Uh, in one case in near Yogyakarta, no, a teacher slapped a student because of her hijab, just slapped on the street.
Hmm.
But the rape, uh, very few rape cases because these women are considered to be perempuan nakal, quote unquote.
Oh, so it gets
If you are
thrown out
not
of
wearing a
court.
hijab, you are seen
Promiscuous.
as naughty girl. But the victim did not report the cases to the police at the time.
Do you have a lot of cases that are not reported to the police?
Oh, mostly did not. They do not want to report to the police because they feel, to some degree, many of them consider uh, they are guilty because
Hmm.
they are not following the law, the
Hmm.
regulation, the hijab regulation. In most cases, they don't want to, they are traumatized. They don't want to keep on facing all this
Yeah.
hijab thing. Many of them prefer to move school or to move cities, town.
Oh,
And we
wow.
help them to, we raise money. We don't have money, but we raise money collectively to
Hmm.
send them, let's say in one case, moving from
Hmm.
Karawang to another regency in West Java. Mostly they want to move places. They want to move provinces.
Okay. Do you raise money on a regular basis for all this, or is it just per person, on individual cases?
Per person, per person,
It's
because we
like
don't have a legal body.
so you do like Kitabisa or something like that.
No, no, no. It is never open. They do
Oh,
not
okay.
want to be
They
open.
don't want it
Let's
to be
say
open.
there is a man in Padang.
Hmm.
He's a Christian.
Hmm.
His daughter was forced to wear the hijab. He was threatened that his daughter to be expelled from school if she does not wear the hijab. But she fought for his daughter,
Hmm.
and he was successful.
Hmm.
His daughter can finish school without the hijab, but
Hmm.
then he faced a social boycott. He has a AC maintenance business selling, repairing AC, air conditioning. He faced a social boycott. She has to fire his, I think, 5 employees, selling his pickup truck, his small van, motorcycle, uh, and now he's facing the possibility of he cannot pay his bank installment.
So he's
He
bankrupt.
has small credit. Uh,
Hmm.
it is sad.
It sounds
It's sad.
terrible, actually.
Oh yeah. I once asked him whether I can help him with public fundraising. He said no. He faced death threat. Yeah, he
Hmm.
faced of being his children being hurt, house being burned, or even his own church to be burned.
Oh, his whole church.
His own church. He's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
Christian. Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Even the pastor of his church did not want to help him because the pastor is afraid that their church might be affected.
Be targeted because of
Yeah.
him. That's wild.
Yeah.
So it's really quite a big issue now. I mean, um, is there ever any sympathetic reaction from officers of the law or prosecutors? Is there ever, or is it always point blank
There
turning away?
are the institution that is the most sympathetic is the National Commission on Violence Against Women.
Yeah.
And then to a lesser degree, we also have the ears from the Ministry of Women Empowerment, the Ministry of uh, the Ministry of Law
Hmm.
and Human Rights, uh, also the Pancasila Ideology Improvement Agency.
Okay.
The least, the most hostile are the Ministry of Home Affairs and the Ministry of Religious Affairs. These are the most hostile
Oh wow.
against these victims.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But
Oh, Ministry of Education is also very helpful.
really, I mean, now that Nadim is out, I suppose, because he was supposed to be supporting, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. But tell me, what is the so basically once it goes into the whole KUHAP process, there's nobody in that KUHAP process that is ever sympathetic. Like, police, prosecutors.
I no. The thing is because these women are traumatized. They don't
Okay.
want to report to the police.
Right.
Yeah.
So they don't. So basically,
What they did were mostly to report to the Ministry of Education. The
okay.
Ministry of Education,
And
or
what happens
else
when it's not what? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut in. But what happens when the woman involved is not in an education institution? It's just a normal member of public.
they can report to the Ombudsman office.
Hmm.
Yeah. In certain cases, the parents challenge the teachers or the school principal themselves. There was
Okay.
a case in Solo where a father uh, challenged the school principal for touching the leg of his daughter for wearing a skirt which is considered to be too short by the school. The
Hmm.
school,
Below the
the
knees.
hijab regulation is a combination between long sleeve shirt and long skirt up to the almost to the feet.
Hmm.
And his daughter refused to do that. And
Wow.
not after the knee.
Yeah,
And
below the
because of
knee.
that, the principal touched her leg. And then the father became furious. He went to school, even threatening to have a duel with the school principal.
And is there any cases of communities standing up for these women, or are the communities always they're too afraid, or they agree with the regular? Is there any cases like that?
Some do, some don't. Again, these are 24 provinces. We are
Yeah.
talking about Banda Aceh, we are talking about Padang, we are talking about Pekanbaru, we are talking about Jambi, Bandar Lampung, Palembang, Makassar, Bandung, also in Jakarta, Yogyakarta, Semarang, Solo,
And
Surabaya, you name
which
them.
which communities stand out for you as being very kind of protective, or who are proactive in defending these women? Are there any that stand out to you, or is it just incidental?
There are also communities that stand up for the woman in Aceh, just like what I told you. Their
Oh yeah,
father
yeah,
also.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So it depends. It
But
depends on how women are united, or at least sympathetic toward the victim, and they will stand up. Some of the victims are, of course, Christian.
yeah.
And I am glad to know that many who are sympathetic toward the victim, the Christian victim, are Muslim women.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it makes sense. I think this is very much a patriarchal thing. I mean, I don't know many. I mean, of course, I haven't ever done a survey, but most of my friends, Muslim women friends, are, not at all in agreement with this thing. Even ones who wear hijab, they just say, look, it's
Yeah,
my decision.
yeah, yeah, yeah. We got
Um,
support from many hijab wearing women.
Yeah.
Many hijab wearing women. There are scholars like Musda Mulia herself wearing a hijab, but she fully writing, speaking openly against mandatory hijab regulation.
Well, okay, I mean, kind of obvious question in the room is do you do you feel or do you see that this is actually a kind is actually like the front or the it's part of the push, say, for a for an Islamic state in Indonesia?
Oh yes, of course. Yep. I talk with some Muslim ulamas
Hmm.
who disagree if these hijab regulation are to be reformed. They
Hmm.
basically argue that since day one, since independence, 1945,
Hmm.
they push for Islamizing Indonesia
Hmm.
to implement the Islamic Sharia into as many aspects as possible of Indonesia. They believe that this is the way forward for Indonesia. But they don't use violence. They want to do that via democratic means. That's why they thought that this all the hijab regulation are being enforced peacefully, not via political violence. That's why, uh, of course, it is a part of the Islamizations of Indonesia.
So this is like they're the grandsons of the Jakarta Charter, basically. I mean, you could say. I mean, they're continuing. But that brings an interesting thing up. You know, I've always early on when it first started. I mean, in my naivety, I I I often would post or even with friends, I would just say like, where is Indonesia's moderate Muslim voice in all of this? And I still have that question actually, and I'd like to pose it to you.
Oh, they are fighting back. They are at least at least they fight for the political compromise
Hmm.
made in 1945.
Hmm.
This political compromise is often called Pancasila.
Okay, back to that.
Pancasila basically means that Indonesia is not an Islamic state nor a secular state. So in between. The
Hmm.
first principle of Pancasila is belief in the one God.
Yeah. So the question really is how strong is the moderate Indonesian moderate Muslim Indonesian voice? Indonesian moderate Muslim. How do you okay?
They are pretty
How
strong. They
yeah.
are pretty strong. Of course, different from one province to another. They are less heard in places like West Sumatra, of course,
Hmm.
or West Java, of course, or West Nusa Tenggara, or even South Sulawesi. But in other provinces, they are pretty strong. They
I see.
are pretty critical. Basically, there are more than 700 Sharia inspired regulation in Indonesia now.
Wow,
More than
700.
700. They are targeting three types of minorities. One is gender minority, women,
Hmm. Hmm.
and second is religious minorities, non-Muslim
Hmm.
and non-Sunni,
Hmm.
but also local believers. And the
Hmm.
third is LGBTIQ communities. So there are three types of
Hmm.
discrimination against three minorities: gender, sexual orientation, and religious minorities.
Okay.
And all these regulations, Sharia inspired regulations, are rising and also being implemented in
Mhm.
Indonesia.
And I mean, when we talk about against religious minorities, that would include the uh, I don't know how to phrase it properly, but the non-conformist Islamic, for example, the Ahmadiyya and so forth.
Oh yeah, those are the
That's still boiling.
non-Sunni discrimination.
Yeah. So that's still boiling.
Oh yeah, it is still boiling.
Yeah.
Just last week there were some attacks against Ahmadiyya in Cianjur,
Oh wow.
Parung, Bogor, and Kota Mobagu,
Against
North
individuals
Sulawesi,
or against
against the community.
communities.
Yeah, yeah. They banned the Ahmadiyya to organize their annual meeting in Cianjur, Parung, and also Kota Mobagu. I heard some other cities, but I'm not clear. At least those three.
It's kind of ironic when you think that our national anthem was composed by an Ahmadiyya, you know.
It is. It is.
It's,
Wage Rudolf Supratman is an
it's
Ahmadi.
Ahmadiyya. It's kind of it's very ironic that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
And also Arif
yeah,
Rahman Hakim.
yeah.
Arif Rahman Hakim, a medical student who was shot to death
Mm-hmm.
in 1966, is also an Ahmadiyya.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, it's always. I'm often, people ask me questions about Islam in Indonesia and how, and I answer that, well, it's not as bad as you think, et cetera, et cetera. But I feel that I am not lying, but I am, I'm just kind of putting some wallpaper on it, just because.
Well, there are very, very courageous Muslim who defend
Yes.
and defend the minorities, the victim of human rights abuses. And don't forget, there are also victims who totally belong to the so-called Sunni Muslim Nahdlatul Ulama majority,
Hmm.
like the Maduris on
Yeah.
Kalimantan Island. They are, of course, Sunni Muslim.
Yeah.
They are being discriminated.
Hmm.
20 years ago, many of them,
During the violence, yeah.
yeah, mass killing. They were
Hmm.
victimized in mass killing.
Yes.
6,500 people were killed.
Hmm. Yeah. So it goes both ways, really. But how, in general, would you say the moderate Muslims who speak out against this radicalization, do they often get uh, attacked or bullied, or is that something which is frequent, or is that in your
It is
observation?
increasingly frequent, just like Gus Yakut. Gus Yakut was the Minister of Religious Affairs,
Hmm.
coming from a strong Muslim family.
Hmm.
He tried to issue a regulation to limit the decibel of
Oh, yes,
a
yes, yes,
mosque loudspeaker
yes,
because they are mostly too loud, according
yes.
to him. He was reported to the police for blasphemy, and he was in legal trouble. He was
Hmm.
never questioned by the police, but again, it was enough to silence him and not to continue that the implementation of that regulation. I also know many Muslim in Jambi, in Kalimantan, who were sent to prison for blasphemy against Islam. They
Hmm.
speak up and they are victimized as well.
Yes, the blasphemy law is it's a bit of a pasal karet. What's the English word? It's a rubber or an elastic clause.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's still very much it's kind of a mystery when you're going to get hit by it or not. I mean, it just
It
so.
was it was written by President Sukarno in January 1965,
Wow.
again with the advocacy by some Muslim organization. But under Suharto, himself a practitioner of Kejawen,
Yeah.
nominal Muslim, it
Mm.
was not fully implemented. But once Suharto went down from power, 1998, it became full force, especially under President Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono.
Oh, it became much more
Yeah, under President Yudhoyono,
prevalent. Yeah.
it 125 people went to prison based on the blasphemy law.
Wow.
Under Suharto, for 3 decades, only 8 people went to prison. Under
Wow.
SPY, a decade, 125 people went to prison. And then
Wow.
Jokowi, it continues. In fact, under the administration of President Joko Widodo, Jokowi, the blasphemy law was expanded from one article into
Oh.
six article.
And what do those cover? I mean, like blasphemy is such
It
a kind of
covers
vague thing.
It covers apostasy.
Hmm.
Blasphemy is still there. Apostasy, disrupting a religious service, destroying a house of worship.
Hmm.
What else? Disrupting a preacher
Hmm.
in action. So it is expanded. Although the the prison term is reduced from 5 years down to 2 years, but prosecutors can combine the blasphemy law with the internet law, also on blasphemy.
Oh wow,
The prison term
that's
is up
another
to,
rubber
yeah,
clause. That's another,
and
yeah.
the maximum penalty is 10 years. So
Wow.
despite on the book it is reduced to 2 years from five, but still, you can send to prison up to 10 years if you use the internet. So it is from bad to worse.
Yes, I'm digesting that at the moment. I'm just like the other thing that I want to talk about, which is also going, seems to me at least, not necessarily from bad to worse, but more it's become more blatant. And one of the things that has always disturbed me about Indonesia, about, I mean, is my country right or wrong? I don't know, I don't really agree with that. But if you say, when we talk about impunity, the impunity of power and the impunity of the military and so forth, we, we have a history of just not dealing with things like 1965 and all, Tanjung Priok, all that stuff. It just gets whitewashed. And I think it was in the year 2000, if I'm not mistaken, the Komnas Ham, I think it was still Asmara Nababan at that time. He was still the head of it, and he had set up this thing where nationwide, each province, he set up a kind of a, what would you call it, a council or a retreat of several, different professions, journalists, military, entrepreneurs, et cetera, to sit together and to discuss what the future would look like for Indonesia and what would be the parameters um, for Indonesian democracy to grow and to flourish. And one of the things that what came up was about the impunity of the military. And I was very surprised, and of course I can't really, I can't mention the names, but I was very surprised that the military persons involved was actually in agreement. He said that, these are things that really need to be clarified. And it was not such a big push about punishment, but it was about, we have to acknowledge these things, and it has to be acknowledged publicly. And when Jokowi came in, that was one of his little promises, which never, he never came good on it. And uh, I see that as something which um, I see that acceptance of this impunity as being a it's a factor in the ongoing abuses of power, which because what happened in Sumatra, for example, the flooding, and we had this ridiculous thing. I don't even know if it was AI, but somebody released a video of Titi Suharto, like we have to. I'm like, her, of all people. I don't know if that was AI or not, I mean, but I was like, and then I started reading the comments and it was hilarious. But do you feel that there's any chance of us in our, this future, near future, to actually start dealing with this, or is it just a sealed box?
Technically, the handicap is the 1998 military tribunal law.
Okay.
The military tribunal law says that if an active soldier commits a crime,
Hmm.
he cannot be tried in a common court.
Civil court.
Yeah. He cannot be investigated by the police.
All right.
He should be investigated by a
Court
military
martial.
police
Hmm.
and a military tribunal,
Which is,
whatever the
yeah.
crime is. So let's say a soldier rape a woman. He should be court martial. Uh, he robbed a bank. The police cannot touch him.
Wow.
Then the the military prosecutor and the military judges that are going to try that particular soldier are appointed and approved by the commander of that soldier.
Oh,
That is
so
of
it's a
course.
selective judges. It's not judges within the system.
There are judges within the system, but especially the prosecutor, the commanders should have a coordination with the prosecutor. So that
Ah,
is one technical handicap.
that's a big flaw.
Yeah, Human Rights Watch has been pushing for a reform of this military tribunal law, 1998. Another big issue, huge issue, is of course the 1965 mass killing,
Yes,
involving the military.
yes.
The military denied that they were involved, that they
Mm.
said it was mostly public anger. But there are more and more evidence. The latest one is a book by Jess Melvin, and of
Hmm.
course, another report by the National Commission on Human Rights that the military was involved
Yes,
directly, giving commands, arming people to kill, to
yes,
arrest, and to so-called eliminate so-called communists. And there are layers of keterkaitan involvement. The
yeah.
first layer is members of the Indonesian Communist Party. The second are affiliate of the party.
Mm.
And then the third, I forgot, family members.
People
And
relate, yeah,
yeah, the
yeah.
fourth is ethnic Chinese was also mentioned. That's why there were violence against ethnic Chinese after 1965 and ongoing discrimination until at least after the fall of President Suharto in 1998. That is the mother of all mass killing in Indonesia.
Mm.
But we have other mass killing
Yes, yes,
in
yes.
Aceh, in Papua, East Timor, Talang Sari, Tanjung Priok, the killing of the Maduris in Kalimantan, the sectarian violence in southern Moluccas, the bigger sectarian so-called white versus yellow violence in northern Moluccas. They are all in impunity. That is,
But I mean, in some of those, the military was not so obviously involved. I mean, not they were not
yeah,
always. I mean, for
yeah,
example, the Madris versus the Dayaks, that was really. I mean, it might have been fomented by some military people, but definitely the actors were
yeah,
not military.
yeah, yeah. It was communal violence. Of course, they are different.
Yeah.
One mass killing to another is different. But again, the mother of all mass killing in Indonesia is 1965.
Yes,
It was
1965.
also the mass killing that basically torpedo the 1960 Basic Agrarian Law, which
Yeah,
include a land reform program.
yeah.
At the time, one of the champions was the Indonesian Communist Party. So with the
Mm.
crackdown of the Communist Party, the land reform had no more champion. But in place of that, the Suharto regime introduced two land program.
Hmm.
One is what they call Green Revolution,
Hmm. Yeah.
using certain rice seed, uh,
Hmm.
mostly coming from Los Banos in the Philippines.
Philippines, yes.
And then the second is transmigration. So from
Yeah.
Suharto onward, they encourage mostly landless farmers in Java to go to Sumatra, Kalimantan, Papua,
Which
transmigration.
caused other problems as well, many problems
Yeah, there
in
are
those areas.
social challenges.
Well, I thought I was dreaming when I heard governor of Bali suggesting that, you know, we should was it the governor? I can't remember who, but I heard this, it was on the news that there was this move to like let's revive the transmigration program for the Balinese who don't have land. And you know, at the same time you have foreign investors coming buying up big pieces of land, and now you want to transmigrate again.
Yeah, yeah,
I can't believe that this idea has come back again because it was such,
yeah.
I mean, it had, there were so many social failings in that program.
Bali was also a site of mass killing in 1965.
Yes, it was huge. It was I think if I'm not mistaken, in Bali the percentage versus the population was the highest in Indonesia.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm. And then Okay. I I wanted to ask it's a little bit different. This is just a final few minutes in our talk, and then I'm not sure if there have been any questions that have been put forward. By the way, the people who are listening, you can type questions in this the group chat. Please feel free. I see there's one here. Okay, but we'll get to your questions in a minute. But please feel free to put up your questions. Um, this is kind of a jump. But just in reference to the latest U.S. national security strategy that was released last week, if I'm not mistaken, um, it it sounds like a right-wing nationalistic manifesto, or what they're doing, and of course, it's the United States, but somehow it's relevant to us because the U.S. funding for democratic institutions around the world has whether we like it or not, it has really helped a lot of people, and as is the health program, so that they save many lives with this thing. And so the for the human rights, women's rights, student programs like Fulbright, which I think you were involved in, um, it had a very strong impact. I remember towards the beginning of this year, Sandra Hamid took over, and she landed just as the funding disappeared. But
No, no, no. The funding continues.
yeah, now the funding continues. That's what the last thing I heard is the funding has continued. But other than okay, that situation, but will that have any impact on human rights in Indonesia? Any organizations that are supported by U.S. funding or U.S. aid? Do you think anything
I did
significant?
research on the impact of the USAID shutdown in
Hmm.
Indonesia. I interview USAID official. I also interview recipients of the USAID funding.
Hmm.
In short, the biggest hit happened on the HIV and TBC,
Yes.
tuberculosis program.
Yeah.
It turned out that over the last decade, the USAID is working with Indonesia's Ministry of Health
Hmm.
to provide outreach workers.
Hmm.
These workers, mostly two-person per unit, per puskesmas,
Hmm.
village clinic, district
Yeah.
clinic, or per local hospital.
Hmm.
So these two individuals will remind patient to take the medication, to
Yeah.
go to counselor, and the others. Why they don't go to the hospital or the clinic?
Mm.
Stigma.
Yeah.
Many of them don't want to go there. That's outreach worker.
Yeah.
When the USAID funding was cut, most of these workers, thousands of them, lost their job.
Yeah.
And this is what some of them are afraid that the number of HIV infection and also TBC will increase.
Yeah.
I was told that there are at least two provinces already lost their ARV medical supplies.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So the first impact is medical problem. The second are mostly about press freedom. Yeah.
Yes.
There are some organizations like Press Legal Aid Institute, LBH Pers.
Hmm. Hmm.
There are also media watch organizations like Remo TV. Remo TV lost almost 100% of their funding.
Wow.
And then Jaring, Investigative Journalism Network, they
Hmm.
also already dismissed workers. So it turned out that the second biggest impact is on media organization. They are not mainstream.
Hmm.
They are not Tempo, they are not Kompas or
Yeah.
RCTI. They are mostly those that help, let's say the LBH Best, they help journalists or social media users that are criminalized using existing laws in Indonesia.
Yes.
Or media watch organization like Remo TV or Investigative Journalism Network, they're the one that hit the most the impact of the USAID shutdown.
Yeah. And I mean, going back to the HIV thing, in 2002, or 2000 actually, in 2000, I was involved in a project, anti-stigmatization project, which was funded in part by USID, and of course it was in uh, together with the Ministry of Health, and it was called
Yeah,
Tegak.
I saw your photo exhibition, the
Oh yeah,
big
yeah, 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 yeah,
red,
yeah.
black and
And
white.
it was funny. I mean, this is a personal thing. I don't know whether it's not appropriate or not for me to talk about it, but I personally felt that was one of my biggest achievements ever in photography. Not because of the quality of the photographs, but because of that exhibition. We got, we got cheap ARVs to come in from Thailand to Indonesia, which changed the problem, the situation very, very, I mean, quite dramatically. And this is part of the reason why I wanted to ask you this question about, this cutting of the funding. It kind of puts us back to, do you think it's as bad as that? That we're going back I mean, stigmatization was something which was it's hard to put call it a quantitative thing on it, but do you think it puts us back to where we were before this?
If if these problems are not immediately solved by the Indonesian government, especially the Ministry of Health,
Hmm.
then it might be a nightmare in Indonesia. Right now, in terms of percentage, the number of HIV individual in Indonesia is much bigger, several times bigger than the HIV population in the US.
Yes.
Population wise, more or less the same. The
Hmm.
US is bigger than Indonesia. But the number of HIV infection in the US is basically much, much lower than Indonesia.
Yeah.
And that's why the USAID was helping the Ministry of Health, just like what you told me. They sponsored exhibition,
Hmm.
public education, but it's been going on for more than a decade. Now they're all cut down, shut down. The
Oh.
Indonesian government has not
Hmm.
responded appropriately. If we don't do that, if the stigma is not being confronted, then things might get worse. There are 4 or 5 categories of HIV, positive HIV individual. One
Yeah.
is sex workers, and the
Hmm.
second is men who have sex with men, whether gay
Yeah.
or transgender, and then women
Intravenous drug,
with
yeah,
positive and
yeah,
drug users.
drug users, yeah.
So
And
this
children.
this
And children too.
yeah. So these are stigmatized. They are stigmatized. These poor people are stigmatized. I interview individual in Lebak Regency, in Banten,
Mm.
Serang in Banten as well, the capital of Banten, or in Depok. They are now, if they want to get the ARV medication, they have to go to Jakarta because they
Oh,
are
really?
Banten.
So we've actually kind of gone right back to,
Yeah, because it's becoming more and more rare to have ARV monthly ARV supplies.
you know, I just remembered something. I just flashed on one of the women that I interviewed and photographed in East Java. Uh, she, where was it? In Lumajang or somewhere like that.
Mhm.
I forget now. It's a long time ago. But I went to her family home, and she had come home, and I went to visit her. And usually when I photograph these people, I spent at least 1 or 2 days with them, so just to get to know them and talk with them. Although I didn't write the captions, but one of the things that she said to me, I have to say it in Indonesian first because it works better in Indonesian. Is that, kalau penyakitnya Pak, aku masih bisa tahan. Yang nggak bisa tahan tuh sakit hatinya. And I've always struggled to how to translate that. The sickness, or yeah, I guess the sickness I can handle, she said. But being sick at heart, and she meant the stigmatization,
Sakit hati.
the sakit hati, that was the thing that really, really got me, she said, and I was kind of stunned. I mean, I completely understood it because, after spending about a year with all these different people in
That's
different
why
cases.
that's why we have these outreach workers because they are the one who
Yeah,
privately
they
meet
can
with patient,
bridge.
giving the medical supplies, giving condoms, so they are not going to infect other people. But the latest criminal code is now criminalize people who are not medical workers when providing condoms, and many other.
Oh, you must be joking.
Oh yeah, it is.
So,
It
so
is.
if Pepito or Indomart sells condoms, they
They
can be
can
they can be
they can be
criminalized.
criminalized.
Wait a minute,
They can be
please tell me
criminalized.
this is not true. I
That
mean,
is
so
true.
you
The
cannot,
2022 Criminal Code. It
so you
will
have to
be
buy it
implemented
at
as of
Kimia Pharma
January
or what?
2026.
You have to buy your condoms at Kimia Pharma or
Well,
How-
maybe Indomart and Alfamart, they might have a license to sell condom.
wow.
But there are already people who are arrested for bringing a box of condom. And condoms are increasingly made as legal evidence of sex outside of marriage.
That's
There
crazy.
are already. We wrote a report about that.
Okay, I'm beginning to feel a little bit a little
This
bit kind
is
of
this is dangerous.
it's crazy.
The approach on this HIV and TBC infection are always about morality.
Yeah, and what the next question, the final question, okay, the final question, because it's I've taken a lot of your time already, but my final question is, okay, stigmatization in the community I can understand, but do you see stigmatization in the in the government institutions that are
Oh yes,
actually no, I
oh
mean,
yes,
especially those that are involved in health or
oh yes, yeah,
so even in the health department, so you see
yeah,
stigmatization.
yeah. One big problem is that when a transgender woman
Mm. Mm.
go to a clinic, she is waiting, and then her name is being called
Hmm.
with the loudspeaker, and that is her death name.
Her what name?
Death name,
Uh-huh.
nama mati, death name,
Namamati or her death name. Okay.
name that they don't want to be associated with. But in Indonesia, it's
Okay,
difficult
okay.
to change one's name.
Yeah.
That is one reason why
So
they don't
it
want.
would be her male name, put it that
Yeah,
way.
sakit hati.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
You are going there with dresses, with makeup, beautiful, and then the loudspeaker mention your male name, that name. And then, not to say individual doctors, nurses, lab technician, many of them having negative perceptions about all these HIV positive patients. We need to provide public education on HIV, but again,
That's a real regression because I remember back in 2002 and whenever there was a growing awareness amongst the health workers to that was bringing them beyond that. And I'm very sad to hear this. But anyway, what to do? What do you think about the future? Do you think we will have, more democratic institutions, or do you think how do you see where we're going? Do you think there will be enough pushback from the communities? I mean, just in a general, what's your feeling in general? It's kind of
I don't
a
have
trick
the.
question.
I'm an Indonesian.
Yeah,
I'm an
yeah,
Indonesian citizen.
yeah.
This
So am
is
I.
tanah tumpah darah,
Yeah,
my
yeah.
tanah tumpah
This
darah,
is where we
like
stand.
you too.
Yeah.
So we don't have the luxury to be pessimists.
Mm,
Yeah, what we have to do is we have to very very critical in using our time.
okay.
Everybody has 24 hours a day,
Mhm.
and we have to choose how we are going to use our time, our 24 hours a day, to be as efficient as possible.
So we don't have the luxury to be pessimists.
I don't think we have the luxury to be pessimists.
That's a great quote. I'm going to use that quote. Andres, thank you so much. And I don't know if there are any questions here. There's one question here. I don't know if anybody else has another question, but this is a question from Daniel Vaughan. He's an American living in Bali for a long time. Are women a minority in Indonesia, population-wise?
No, no, it is about 50-50,
50-50. Okay. Is there any other question related to that? Maybe from
depending
Francis?
on each province, but more or less 50-50. Yeah.
Okay. Does anybody else, okay, does anybody else want to ask some questions? If not, we're going to end this session. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ria.
Pleasure talking to you, Andreas, and really eye-opening. Thank you so much. It was I feel very much more enlightened about the situation now than I was before. Thank you so much.
Daniel wrote the questions. What is the
Okay,
meaning of dead name
where's that?
on the chat?
I didn't see that. Oh, here.
Dead name is
Oh,
a
yes.
name that the owner consider to be dead already. The person who had that dead name is already dead, although physically the person is still healthy, but she's using another name. So it mostly happen with transgender individual.
Okay.
They have that name. They don't want to be called or introduce the that name. They want to be called with their new names.
So then there's another question here from Francis. How was that decided to get that name?
They don't do that legally. They don't change
Hmm.
their ID card because it is difficult to change sexual identification in Indonesia national ID. If
Hmm.
you are born with a penis, you are always being a man on your ID card,
Is it difficult
unless
or
you do a
impossible?
surgery.
Is it difficult or impossible?
Yeah, uh, it is possible, but very costly. Then you
Okay.
have to take the medical surgery, going to a psychologist before that, and then after surgery, you have to medically prove that
Oh, wow.
you don't have a penis, you have a vagina, whatever. Then
Hmm.
you can change your name.
There's a
But most people do not have the funding, the time,
hmm.
the patience to change their identification. Thus, they call it that name.
So the final question from Francis is, so death names is the ID card, basically, yes.
Those on the ID card. They don't
Oh,
want to be called with the names on the ID card.
okay. Great. Well, once again, I think it was a very interesting session, and I've learned a lot, and I hope that our listeners and viewers will also learn a lot from this. Thank you so much, Andreas. Thank you, and
Terima kasih.
terima kasih
Thank you.
banyak.
Have
Banyak
a
yang
good day in
you
Ubud.
too.